Chapter 27. I imagined the events of the day as if I were there. I would finish up from a busy day at the clinic, making my last rounds as I check on the patients. The other nurse on shift and I would laugh at some joke one of the older patients made. I would inventory supplies and make notes on items we need for the next day. Then I would say goodbye to everyone and leave. Instead of going straight to the paired housing, I would take a slow walk to the park, say hi to people I pass, discreetly wave to Mr. Frank as he waters plants and hums a new song. I would meet Jacqueline at the park, and we would sit on the bench and share stories from things that happened in our day. Jacqueline would sneak me a new pin she made out of a unique rock she found while working. Then we would walk back to the paired housing together, and I would go into my house while she enters hers. I'd make dinner for Brennan. We would sit down at a nice table, eat, and chat about our days. Then we would read together and go to bed for the night. I'd wake up and do it all over again the next day. That's not so bad, I say out loud to hear a voice in the stillness I've been sitting in for hours. It's safe. It's safe. Just like Gavin said. That's what he meant by not rescuing me right away. For the most part, I was in a safe place. As long as it remained predictable, routine, mundane. When you don't know what else there is, it's a good place to be. But when you discover what else there is, how life can be so much better, that's when it all changes. Logic gives life a direction. Feeling gives it worth and a purpose. Leaning back on the trunk of the tree I've prepared as a hiding place, I run through the plan again in my head. I look up at the sun and watch it lower in the sky. Instinctively, I know it's dinner time in Impetus. This is the prime time to find Jacqueline because everyone of the adult age will do the same thing. Return home from work, prepare dinner, and sit down to eat. It will be easy to peek in the paired housings to locate hers. Ethan will be there. I could rescue him too. The thought of saving both Jacqueline and Ethan energizes me. I want to jump down the tree, march right into Impetus, and invite them to a better life in rebirth. But I know it won't be that simple. I wait for the sun's descent to cast more shadows before I climb down the tree and sneak to the spot in the thickets I've always used to go in and out of Impetus. I wish I had been bold enough over the years to learn different routes, but I always stuck to what I knew. There are only so few openings, and all are virtually hidden. Unfortunately, this path puts me at the opposite end of Impetus's circular design from the paired housing. My best bet is to stick closely to the gardens and use the shadows from the buildings and thickets like a cloak to stay camouflaged. The realization I have to walk past both of the steel buildings strikes me, and the threat of seeing that creepy man sends shivers down my spine. But if I try the other side of the community circle, it's an extra road I have to cross over, which puts me in the Lightstone's path more. Marching through the middle of Impetus is unquestionably out, since it's the highest traffic area. The goal is to stay alert and vigilant, listening for every noise I can identify. Although I need to rush, taking my time will be the key to prevent from being spotted. I don't know what they told everyone about me after my scene at the future ceremony, but whatever their story, my sudden appearance again would be detrimental for my plan. My skin is suddenly tingly and itchy. The racing of my heartbeat makes me want to run to keep up with it, but I have to pace my steps. I can do this. I know I can. Every step is worth it to save Jacqueline. Seeing her again is all the motivation I need as I push my way through the bushes, stopping right at the edge, listening anxiously for any voices. When only the rustling of the plants responds, I poke my head out for visual surveillance. No one. Stepping out of the thickets and into Impetus fully exposed knocks me back with a cannonball of emotions. The air even smells differently here, like a synthetic scent, created for us to inhale and believe in a life that's far from reality. A trick. A lie. Like everything here now represents. I calm the shaking of my hands by sticking them in the pockets of my hoodie and continue on my way, each step threatening to pull my stomach through my throat. So this is fear, I think to myself. As the first shed looms closer, my legs become more burdensome, and it takes more effort to pick them up. I focus on just one at a time, willing my legs to be the hero. Every time the wind blows past my ear, I freeze. A tin door slamming sends me to the ground in panic, but it's either my imagination or happened at the other shed, since no other movement occurs. I push from the grass and continue on my path. When I reach the road crossing, I crouch down as I edge to it, careful that the light doesn't land on any part of my body. Once safe, I dart across the road and reach the garden on the other side, bending down quickly with the plants to hide in the shadows. No noises. It's clear. It must be dinner time. While standing eerily close to the second steel building, anxiety creeps down my neck through my spine. I feel watched, but there's no one in sight. At least I'm closer to the paired housing. I'm almost there. I maintain the same pattern that has worked so far, with sticking to the shadows and stopping to listen to every sound my ears detect. As I near the first row of paired housing, my breaths shorten and become harder to regulate. This is where I have to be the most careful. Pairings know other paired. They don't know me. Not these days. Not as I am. If the wrong person sees me, this will end. Impetus would flat out kill me this time. No sense in punishing someone who has already broken through remedy and has seen the truth. I'm much more of a danger now. I didn't realize how many paired houses exist until now. Being this close to the rows and counting the doors, I have no clue which one Jacqueline is in. Suddenly, it becomes apparent how daunting of a task this will be. I may not even find her before dinner time ends. But there's no turning back now. I'm too close to saving my friend. You can do this, Evangeline. Each house has one door and window, and that pattern repeats one after another, each connected until one row ends and a new one begins. My best bet is to stick close to the back of the houses, across from the row I'm checking, and quickly go down the line to catch a glimpse of who may be sitting in the window, or any sign it's Jacqueline's residence. 3 houses to the end of the first row, and she appears in the window. I almost ran by, but her face registered in time for me to pull back on my run. Crouching in the shadows, I watch the most flawless couple through the window. They both look great and healthy with their perfect skin, luscious brown hair, and sparkling brown eyes. Ethan is sitting across from Jacqueline, scooping food onto her plate. They are flaunting toothy grins, looking to be in an in-depth discussion. If Jacqueline knew happiness, that is what she's feeling at this moment. But she doesn't know that. She doesn't know how great this moment with Ethan could actually be. How her emotions could amplify each touch with him and every second they spend together. Her not understanding that feeling makes my heart ache. I know what I need to do. Glancing in both directions to confirm no one else is coming, I walk straight to her door and knock 2 times, attempting to be quiet to not draw attention, but still loud enough for them to hear. The door swings open, and there she is, standing right in front of me. Her curly hair is swept to the side, and the laugh lines in her smile are more apparent. Somehow she looks much older despite me being gone only a few months. Her clothes, her hair, her face, everything seems more mature, including the way she's standing in the doorframe, comfortable with her house and her life. "Evangeline!" Jacqueline squeals as her brown eyes raise in surprise. She opens the door wider. "Come in!" I am grateful for the invite to be somewhere within closed doors and not visible to anyone that could see me, especially those that know I'm not supposed to be back in Impetus. I'm also relieved to see her personality hasn't changed at all. When the door closes behind me, I can't help but give her a hug. I can feel her for the first time in my life, and it makes her hug an amazing gift, intimate and special. I pull away, taking steps back as I hold her hands and say, "You look beautiful, as always." She bubbles with her big signature smile. "Welcome to our home." I look around at the quaint space. A tan couch sits under their one window, and a wooden bookshelf filled with a variety of Impetus-approved books sits across from it, with limited miscellaneous decorations and odds and ends. To the right is a room that looks to be the bedroom, and then a door which I'm assuming leads to the bathroom. The kitchen is to my left, with a small table, several cabinets, refrigerator, and stove. All of it is designed with control. Limit what they're surrounded with, and they're forced to talk with each other or other pairings. Everything is to fit the mold, so they never stray from groupthink. Individuals and individual thoughts aren't welcomed in Impetus. Not if you want to be considered important for the future. Ethan waves from the table.
"Good to see you, Evangeline."
He stands and pushes his chair back.
"I'll give you ladies some time to talk."
He grabs the dirty plates and places them with a clink in the sink. He slips behind us, disappearing into the bedroom with the door closing quietly. It's weird to think Jacqueline lives with a man now. "Come, sit." She pulls me to the couch. I take a seat on the soft cushion at her request and peek behind me at the open window, aware I could still be exposed if the wrong person walks by. "I can't stay for long," I declare sorrowfully. I would love for this to be a regular visit of time spent with Jacqueline, where we can casually sit and talk about our day. But if I can get her out of here, we can have those days back, and they will be better than ever before. "I'm sure you've been looking for me. I can't imagine what you must have thought happened to me after that fiasco." "I haven't been looking for you," Jacqueline admits matter-of-factly, blindly stinging me with her words. "I believed I would see you again, and here you are, so I was right." It hurts to think that while I was suffering in that box, my best friend wasn't worried about where I was. Then I correct myself, realizing she can't be alarmed. Impetus prevents her from having feelings of anything, including concern. Still, she admitted she hadn't been wondering where I am. That's upsetting, and she doesn't even realize it. "Things aren't right, Jacqueline. This life here, they're not telling us the truth. Bad things are happening. It's all because of Remedy. There's something so much more outside." "I know," she responds, harshly cutting me off. "You know? How much do you know?" I am astounded. How has Jacqueline been able to figure this out? "Shh," she chastises me. "If someone walked by and heard you asking a question, you'd be punished." I'd be punished for other reasons, I think to myself, but stay quiet, hoping she'll still answer my question. "I guess I don't know specifics," Jacqueline admits. "In one of the early training lessons with the doctor, he told me he can't be on Remedy. He has to feel to do his job. That's why I didn't want that path. I knew I didn't want to be forced off Remedy. I don't want to feel." Marlena had shared that Dr. Bourdin and a few other board members are the only ones not on Remedy because of the delicate requirements of their profession. That's why they're careful with deciding who moves into those prominent positions. They must still function under the regulations of Impetus while holding the strictest amount of confidentiality in experiencing feelings and emotions. Although Jacqueline's revelation didn't come as a surprise, the fact that she has known about this for years is shocking. Apparently, I wasn't the only one with secrets throughout our friendship. It also now makes sense why she had such a strained relationship with the doctor. He entrusted her with sensitive information. An error in judgment on his part, since she only did the minimal requirements of her studies after that, instead of going above and beyond as she was known to do to secure the doctor role for her future. Jacqueline glances over her shoulder at the open window and sighs. Evangeline, I'm not stupid. I know things aren't as they seem. But I believe in the system. I believe there's a reason behind all of this. You've seen the books, the fractions of pieces of the before like I have. There's nothing out of that I want. They destroyed themselves. She grabs her hair, pulls it to the side of her shoulder, and subconsciously braids it while avoiding my eyes. Everything I've ever wanted, I have. The system works. You just have to believe. She shoots me a look from the corner of her eye. And obey. I ignore her purposeful stab at me. But don't you want to know the reason behind it instead of just believing? If there's more, wouldn't you want it? Jacqueline sits up straighter and looks at me head on. Evangeline, if you are sitting in my house, you need to obey the rules. You will not put Ethan and me at risk. I shrink from her tone, astonished she'd speak in such a way. I already told you. I have everything I've ever wanted. You would too if you'd just cool it. I don't know what happened to you when we were younger, but I thought you'd snap out of it once the levels were finished. Instead, you've gotten worse. I sit bewildered, swallowing tears. What Jacqueline sees when she looks at me and what I see when I look at her vastly differs. She has no clue what I've been through, what they put me through. She wants to defend a community who tortured me and who knows how many others throughout the years. I want to tell her all the horrible truths I've discovered, but the words escape me. My dazed mind struggles to assemble the required sentences to unveil it all. My best friend, from the time I was born, is brainwashed to someone I don't know. The only words I can push out of my lips are, "So you wouldn't go with me somewhere else if I asked you?" I frame it in a statement so she doesn't yell at me for a question again. "There's nowhere else to go," she firmly responds, making it clear she doesn't care to hear anything else. This conversation is over. Defeated, heartbroken, outraged. These emotions sizzle over me like someone dropped hot stew on my head. I desperately need to change her mind so she can know what it's like to truly live life. She can look at Ethan and see him in a new light and be giddy and excited. She can get goosebumps and knots in her stomach and feel the peace and comfort that comes from the arms of someone she trusts holding her. We could share all the moments we should have had growing up, all the emotions girls should share and tell each other like real best friends do. But that won't happen. We lost out, and she doesn't want it any other way. I stand up, and Jacqueline follows my movement. I almost give her another hug, realizing it may be the last one we ever exchange, but it's dreadfully pointless. She won't feel it anyway. Instead, I walk to the door, take one last look at her stoic presence, and shut it quietly behind me. The chill in the air is more severe as I walk out, cutting through my clothes to my skin. I pull my hood over my head and zip up tightly. I finish my trek around the final 3 houses and swing up the incline behind the back row to the route back home. I replay the conversation with Jacqueline, wishing the outcome I had rehearsed was the result instead of how reality produced it. Jacqueline firmly believed in the ways of Impetus since she was born. It was one thing I once admired the most about her. I shouldn't be as dumbfounded as I am. I love her and would do anything in this world to protect her, but she doesn't know what that's like. If she knew her love for me too, the one that naturally grows from close friendships, she would have been more inclined to hear me through. She would have worried about what happened to me after the future ceremony. She would have missed me like I miss her. But Impetus blocks her from all of that. We perceive our friendship the same intellectually, but it's uneven emotionally. The willingness to do anything to protect someone isn't a thought. It's a feeling, of which Jacqueline has no understanding. Gavin mentioned I had some level of emotions, even while Remedy worked to neutralize them. I understand that now. Even when I didn't realize they were actual emotions, they were there, the foundation of my choices and a guide for my thoughts. If people like Jacqueline don't have that, if they only have thoughts, it's easier for them to do what they're told because there's not a moral guide for what's right or wrong when empathy is removed. I consider this the second revelation I've had this evening of Gavin proving to be right. Maybe if he says he can't tell me everything right now, I should believe that. Maybe I should believe in Gavin like Jacqueline believes in Impetus. The kiss with Gavin soon supersedes any other thoughts. The flutters in my stomach reappear and my knees weaken at the thought. I have the urge to run back to Rebirth, find Gavin and cover him with kisses to apologize. I near the road at the end of the steel shed and scoop down, listening for noises and searching for signs of life. I stand to run across the road when a chubby hand covers my mouth and an arm pulls against my waist. Someone is dragging me backward. I dig my feet in the ground and try to bite down on his hand but can't open my mouth wide enough to get my teeth out. Remembering moves Nate taught me in the boxing ring, I take my elbow and jut it hard behind me. It immediately connects to fat and a loud oomph roars in my ear. He felt it. He's not on Remedy. But his grip doesn't loosen. I try again, but he pulls back and I miss.
If you know what's best for you, you better stop.
A deep voice growls. I thrash about to get him off, but his strength overpowers me, and my angle is too awkward to do anything different. He kicks the tin door and yells,
"A little help?"
The door squeaks open, lighting up the night sky, and I'm pulled inside, fearing the slam of the all-too-familiar tin door.